Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Outliers YouTube channel and our program, Get to Know. I'm your host, DP Lyle, and I'm here with my partner in crime, Kathleen Antrim.
Thanks, Doug. It is great to be here. And I am very excited today. We've got really kind of a little interesting twist. Somebody who's incredibly multifaceted, a critically acclaimed author, a best-selling author, and we're going to really delve into her background. We've got Tori Eldridge with us. Hey, Tori, it's great to have you here at Get to Know.
Hey, Kathy. Hi. Hey,
It's so fun.
how's it going?
We're all good.
To many of you who might not know, as authors, we often see each other at different conferences and we get to know each other. And since COVID, a lot of us haven't been to as many conferences. So it's just so nice to see everybody. So Tori, great to see you. And we're going to kick off this interview with a question I like to ask. And I want to ask about your childhood.
Sorry.
I want to know if you feel that your childhood contributed to you becoming, well, I mean, you are incredibly accomplished, but let's start with becoming an author. If, it really contributed to you becoming a writer and an author. And if so, how? I mean, did you have imaginary friends? Were you an outgoing child, an introverted child? Did you spend a lot of time reading? Share.
Interestingly enough, I think it really, really did. I was a huge make-believer. I mean, that I just lived in that room, and the make-believe that I that I would come up with was so dramatic. I mean, bordering on melodramatic. Oh yeah. I mean, thrillers. I would lock myself in a closet, and somebody had captured me and was kidnapping me, and terrible things were happening, and I had to escape. And it's like, oh my gosh, yeah. So I think that had a lot to do with it. And then the other thing is, everybody in my family was an avid reader. I mean, just, like they say, chain smoking for cigarettes,
Yes.
they were chain readers. And so we had all of these books. So when I first started reading, Above Sea Spot Run, I mean, it was pulling from my family's extensive library. My father, my mother, and my sisters, there were always books around.
Oh, that is so cool. Imaginary friends? Did you have any imaginary friends?
I did, but I can't remember any of them. I mean, I just lived in my imagination. That's just like, everything. That's just where it was. So,
Wow.
I'm sure I had quite a few.
I mean, and you also got into acting. You're an actress. You also, is it appropriate to say actress, or am I just supposed to say actor now? Okay,
I'm of a certain age that
yeah,
I was
aren't
an
we all?
No, I don't know. Maybe I'm an actor now. Either way, it's kind of in the rear view mirror. I don't do a lot of that.
But yeah, no, you're very accomplished in that, as well as dancing on Broadway and singing. And I mean, you've done amazing things. You are a 5th-degree black belt. How did all these things kind of coalesce into what you're doing today? And even before that, how did you get into all these various things? What drove you?
How did I get? Well, my mom swears I was a dancer, from birth, because I was twirling around.
Bless her heart.
But I was totally not interested in baby ballet. So I took a rest and didn't get back to it till about 7th grade. And then I never looked back. And when you're dancing, at least for me, it was a natural thing. My father was a wonderful singer. And I loved to sing. And so I was in all the choirs. And of course, acting came naturally from that. And of that came musicals and things like that. So I pretty much knew when I was 16 that I was going to New York and I was shooting for Broadway. That was my goal.
Wow.
And then, did a few, worked with some cool people. And then when I was on tour, the original first national company of cats, I was like, okay, my back is dying, my body's dying. I decided to come out west, do TV, film, see what that was about, and landed on The Love Boat as a series regular. Really lucky. From there, I did, other things and, motion capture, Final Fantasy, and voiceovers and things like that. But you know what? At the heart of all of this is storytelling. When you're a dancer, you're telling a story. When you're a singer, oh my gosh, I thought I was going to be the next Whitney Houston meets Madonna because I could dance.
Love it.
I know, right? And so as a singer, you're telling a story and you're communicating,
Oh, yeah.
getting into that, that space. And then as an actor, you are embodying character. You're make believing, there we go again, that you are somebody else, which is of course what I did as a kid my whole life.
Right.
So when I started writing, I think all of those things just fed right into that whole world of make believe. I often, will act out things and, do my
As you're writing it
out loud.
Yeah. Oh, that makes a lot of sense. And just to think about the physicality of how a scene is laying out, that makes a lot of sense. So where does the 5th degree black belt come from? Well, you lived in New York. Did you feel the need to protect yourself? I mean,
the funny thing is that I was always interested in martial arts, and my mother always said, you have to choose. She did this every time some physical education coach called and said, does Tori want to join the soccer team? Does she want to join the diving team? Does she want to join whatever sport? My mom would get a call. And she would look at me and she goes, you can do it, but you have to choose dance or fill in the blanks. And I always chose dance. So I didn't have a chance to try martial arts until my eldest son was 5 and I put him in karate. And by that time, I thought I had retired from dance completely.
Sure.
And I was just like in the gym doing whatever I could. And I just couldn't stand it. I had to try it. And once I tried it, it was like just an obsession. I was teaching it, I was doing it. And then I discovered the ninja martial arts, and that was like the most comprehensive thing I'd ever done. And I was very fortunate because I didn't have to hold down a job. I was a full-time mom, and so I could do it in between. And I just kind of didn't stop until I kind of hit that master level, and then it was about that time that I had written a screenplay and a first novel, but I had put it on shelf because I was so obsessed with martial arts. I didn't want to, learn the business of writing. And then I was like, no, I want to go back to writing. And so I changed my whole life, and I stopped teaching martial arts and training and touring and investing money and all that.
Yeah.
Focused it all on, becoming a novelist.
So with all that acting and dancing and singing and twirling and martial arting and all of those things, when you finally decided that you were going to go to the written word, and we know that you are, no doubt whatsoever, a ninja warrior. And so how did all of that segue to this?
Oh, aha, the Ninja Daughter. Well, here's a funny thing. The Ninja Daughter was my debut novel, first novel published, but it wasn't the first novel written. That was actually a precursor to Dance Among the Flames. But while I was working on, what I thought was going to be the sequel to that, my agent at the time, I had written a short story that introduced Lily Wong. And at that point, I didn't even know there was a Lily Wong. She just kind of appeared on the page. And my agent at the time said, stop what you're doing and write the ninja book. And I was like, okay. And so I did. Never occurred to me that I was going to write a novel that would draw so much from my own life. My mother is Hawaiian Chinese. My father is Norwegian from North Dakota. Lily Wong's mother is Hong Kong Chinese. Her father is Norwegian from North Dakota. My martial arts background. Lily, not only does she have a ninja sensei, she started in wushu. I did a little of that. My son did more. She also did some boxing. I did a lot of that, all sorts of things. She's in Los Angeles. I was in Los Angeles. It never occurred to me to draw so much. But when I started that book, it was like, well, yeah, this is exactly what I want to do. and not one of those, the trope things of I'm half this and I'm half that, and I really don't belong and I don't know which way to go.
Mhm.
Mine was closer to my own feeling, which was my life is enriched by both. This
Sure.
is my perspective, And so although my Chinese from Hawaii is very, very different from Lily's Hong Kong Chinese from LA, still there's that celebration of culture. And so I thought, wow, I think people would really, well, I think this would be fresh. I think people would really dig it.
Yeah.
And then the other thing is a Chinese Norwegian ninja, ninja
Hey,
they're Japanese.
yeah.
That's fresh.
Right. So, when the designer was coming up with, see these little icon things?
Yes, right.
When they first started it, all the icons were typical Japanese ninja type things. There were like 3 katanas on the thing. And I
Yeah.
said, here's the problem. You're missing the conflict. And the conflict is, I need something on this page that is inherently Chinese, even if nobody knows it.
Mhm,
That's
mhm.
what I need. I need
Yeah.
somebody who knows to look at it and go, wait a minute, that's not a Japanese dragon.
Mhm,
What's up?
mhm. Yeah.
Because that was really what the book was about. So,
Wow.
Did you
So,
realize this was good? Did you plan for this being a series, or did it just happen since the person was so successful? You thought, oh yeah, okay, and just decided to keep it going. Is that how that came about and lead to say, well, this?
I love this. I'm a bit of a planner. So I knew when I wrote the short story that I was setting up what could be not only the first book, but a series. And I was fortunate enough that it was picked up as a 2-book deal. So the publisher also saw it as a series. So I always knew that. I always knew that. The question was, where am I going to take her, and what's she going to do?
so, one of the questions I had for you earlier, and you've answered it a little bit, but I want you to expound on it, is, are you Lily Wong?
No. My life is so much less dangerous and hysterical and all that. I mean, I'm in my granddaughter's bedroom right
I
now.
love
Okay,
it.
so I mean, I'm surrounded by these dangerous creatures. So yeah, no.
So tell
Well,
us about, go
go
ahead.
ahead.
So tell us about your process. Doug and
Oh,
I
Yeah.
differ dramatically on this. And
Yeah.
yeah, are you a pantser? Do you outline?
I love that you asked this question, because I was thinking about this, because people always ask this question, but my answers keep changing. And I don't know about you, but the longer I stay in this game. So right now I'm writing the second book to a new series, and the first
Oh,
book, KULEANA, is going to come out a year from now.
okay.
So by then that will be the 6th book, and I'm writing the sequel, which would be the 7th. So you would think I would have locked into, something I'm going to stick with. And I thought I had, and it keeps changing. But habitually, I start with kind of a log line, a concept. I go for a hike. I get an idea. I dictate it. I write it down. I go for more hikes. I get more ideas, fill in the blanks, write that down, come up with kind of a rough synopsis, throw it into an outline fashion, put it in a Scrivener binder, kind of divide it in 4 acts, which is similar to how I used to write screenplays.
Mhm.
And then when I have all of those filled out, sometimes even with chapter by chapter summaries, I start writing. That worked for the Ninja Daughter. It worked for a couple other books that have not been published that may one day be published. It worked for the Ninja's Blade. It worked for the Ninja Betrayed. It did not work for the Ninja's Oath. And so, yeah, the Ninja Betrayed, that took Lily to Hong Kong.
Mhm.
And the Ninja's Oath took Lily to Shanghai and Japan. Well, I had a sense of where everything was going and a sense of how long it would take. But for some reason, I could only nail down the first half. The second half was woefully fuzzy. So I just started writing. And then, you know, even what I had thought was going to happen changed. And then by the time I got to the second half, then I kind of sort of outlined and went, I'll just keep at it. So then I tried to write KULEANA, and it was like, I kind of outlined, kind of did the thing, but there were these big gaps, and I was like, don't worry about it so much. Now I'm writing this next book, and I'm like, hey, yeah, there's no chapter by chapter summaries. There's this sketchy thing, and I'm like, you know what? I just have to start. And I find myself, even my process is changing. I used to write pretty much all day. I could sink into it. Now it's like I'm the mother of little kids because I'm staying with my daughter-in-law and my son. My husband and I are here. I've got a 3-year-old granddaughter. I have a 2-month-old grandson.
Oh,
We're dividing all the childcare. I do a lot of the cooking, the cleaning, the feedings. I'm right in there. And now I'm writing the way a lot of my young mom friends do, which is sentences here, a paragraph there. Sometimes I'll take my laptop into a dark room with a bassinet. I have my hand and I'm doing this on the baby's tummy and I'm doing this on a computer. I kid you not. I don't know. I'm hoping it works. I gotta get a
I
groove.
love it.
Well, you mentioned, and we've talked about this before, that we're both Scrivener aficionados, and Scrivener is the greatest thing ever created for a writer. And I tell people that I am proselytize the whole thing because having written in Word and Pages and things like that in the past, the difference is night and day. How you can navigate, how you can move around a project, and how you can kind of quasi outline it without outlining it. It's got so many components that are one, and I probably use 10 or 15% of what it's able to do, but that's all I need.
Oh, I use
You'd say,
even less. I'm
yeah,
sure I use even less.
yep,
But I came from, you know, the poster boards they had in school.
right,
It has a short and a long and a short, and you
Yeah.
divide the long into 2, and I've got 4 acts. And then I would have colored Post-it notes
yeah.
and divide them into chapters with scenes and notes. And so I came from that. So when I discovered Scrivener, I was like, you're in my brain.
Yes,
I can even
exactly.
color code things. I'm like, oh, you know, it was
Yeah,
so cool. So
yeah. I
cool.
color code by point of view for the chapter.
Yeah,
That's how I do it.
yeah.
Yeah, it makes it easy.
Sometimes I'll color code action scenes
Yeah,
so that I know if I've gone too long, you know,
Mhm.
diving
right.
into culture and family, because my books really, they dive a lot into family and culture, but they also have the mystery and thriller component. So
Right,
I have to balance. So sometimes I'll color code so that I don't get too lost
right.
in any particular
Sure.
kind of thing.
And Scrivener allows all of that.
Yeah.
It allows all of that. It's
And not to make this a Scrivener commercial,
no,
but I think this is a good tip for writers. So I want to delve into this just a little bit more. What kind of learning curve is there to learning this program? Is it very difficult? Is it intuitive
no.
or?
I have a suggestion for that. If you're going to try out Scrivener, don't try to learn everything. Don't even investigate what all it can do. Just learn the bare minimum so you can get started. And as you want to know how to do something, or you're wondering if it can do something, Google search it. And the Google search will take you right to the place on the website that has the answer, and you can learn piecemeal without getting waylaid more. I would say take a day, familiarize yourself, day and a half max, and then just start. What do you think, Doug?
Yeah, I agree, and that's pretty much how I did it because I'm a guy and we don't read instructions. You know, we wait for the damn thing to blow up and then figure out what we did wrong. You know how that works. But Scrivener, like I said, I probably use 10% of it. But basically, you create your page and your manuscript, and then you start adding scenes. Basically, is what I do. Each scene in my books are chapters, so I end up with like 80 chapters. You know, that's just the way I write things. So you just start creating those. And each one of them has a little place, as you know, for the title of that chapter. Usually a couple of words. Jake goes to the bar,
Yeah.
and then you write a couple of notes in there that may or may not ever happen. And then you start writing the scene. And so the beauty of this, and that's all you do is just create scene all the way down. That's all you have to learn how to do to use this thing.
And so cool. On the sides,
Yeah.
you can see the binder of
Yes.
your outline with all
Yes.
the chapters, and you can
Yes.
search and find where a word was used in any of these chapters to kind of like locate something. It's so
Exactly.
much easier to find something.
And move from place to place. You're in a scene and some characters that were back 15 chapters ago come in and you're saying, well, wait a minute, well, I forgot what I said they looked like because they're new characters. You go up there and say, oh, I did this in yellow. I click on yellow. There's the scene. I scan. Oh, okay. He was 6'2" and he had a droopy mustache. Okay. Now you're click back and you're back there. You can jump around in your story so fast. That's the beauty of it. And that, to me, that's all you have to learn. And they have a compile where you can compile it into a PDF or a Word. But I give listeners a tip. At the end of every session, go up to the top where it says manuscript, and now the entire manuscript appears. The word count's down at the bottom. Copy and paste it. I do it into a Pages document because I'm a Mac guy. Put it on there, bang, and then change the date on that. It'll be like I'm working on a thing called Yanked. It'll be Yanked 4-24-24, that thing. Okay. I do that as I end every session. Why? Because I like to have my work in 2 different programs. I don't like it in just one program, because if one program blows up, you've got everything you've written somewhere else. That's just a word of caution for someone who's lost 10,000 words before. So,
and it's devastating when things work like that.
And you just update that document every time you close down a writing session. That's all.
There you go.
So here's a question for me personally.
Yeah.
And other writers I'm sure will relate. Should I wait until I start a new book to do Scrivener, or should I go ahead and put a book that I'm currently working on into Scrivener? Does it matter?
It's easy to do. You cut and paste.
Got
You
it.
cut and paste the chapters and line them up, and then you can start, because you can search for stuff. Like Tori said, you can search for stuff. You say, well, I know that Marco said something, and he said something about a chalice. Just Google chalice or search chalice. You'll find everywhere it's mentioned in there instantly. Yeah, it's
okay. Very interesting.
There you go.
Thank you for that. These are very good writing tips.
We can get online, Kath, and I can show you how to use it in 10 minutes.
Oh, that'd be awesome. Okay.
We want them to put on a class. I've thought about that. Get them to put on a class for Outliers.
I think we should, because I think it'd be really good for writers. And, we
So, Tori, what's next for you after all this stuff,
Yes.
What are you working on now?
Well, right now, like I said, I'm working on the sequel to KULEANA. KULEANA, I'm so excited about this. It got picked up by Thomas and Mercer.
Oh, cool.
And my editor is Chantel M. Osman, who was my editor for the Ninja Daughter, the Ninja's Blade, and the Ninja.
We know Chantel. Yeah, she's great.
Yeah. So she moved to Amazon while I was approaching the Ninja's Oath, so we didn't get to interact there. So I'm really excited, and so is she, that we're going to get to work with each other again.
Cool.
So KULEANA
for sure.
is also, drawing from my culture. It's my Native Hawaiian side. So my protagonist is Makalani Pahukula, and she has a fabulous ohana. Oh my God, what a family this woman has. And she is a national park ranger, law enforcement officer for up in Oregon. And she's come home to Kauai for her grandmother, her tutu's 85th birthday luau. And she finds 2 of her cousins missing, and her ohana are like in turmoil. They're bickering, they're at each other's throats, and there's a danger that their homesteading way of life is now at risk. So it's a real dive into this multicultural family. And I mean very multicultural and multi-generational. And as is frequently the case in Hawaii, we marry outside of our cultures, and we get these really unusual combinations of people, and it changes the vibe of whatever that set of family is. And they're all interacting. So the whole thing takes place on Kauai. And I think of it as a mystery adventure. There's a lot of outdoor adventure, a lot of nature, a lot of, out in the forests and rivers and rafting and all this kind of stuff at the same time. And I just love this book. So that's what I'm doing. And so now
Cool.
I'm writing the
Exciting.
sequel to that, which takes place on the Big Island of Hawaii.
Mm.
So I'm super excited because I'm going home. I'm
And,
going home.
what's that one going to be called?
Wow.
I don't know if I want to say yet.
Okay, all right, yeah,
Okay,
I'm gonna
that's
hang
fine.
on to that.
No, that's fine.
Yeah, but I'm super excited to do a research trip because it also coincides with my 45th high school reunion
Wow.
at Punahou School.
So cool.
Yeah. So that's happening on Oahu. I have no idea if Barry's going to show up. I know he lives there, so it's entirely possible.
And by Barry, you mean President
Barack Obama. Right.
Yes,
Yeah. And so, I don't know if he'll come for a 45th. He might come for a 50th. I don't know if he'll come for the 45th. But I'm also going to spend some time on the Big Island. So I'm super
wow.
excited about that.
Cool.
Oh, for sure. It's just fabulous. So Tori, tell us where, we can find your books and buy your books.
Oh gosh, you can find everything and more than you'd ever wanted to know about me on my website, which is torieldridge.com. In fact, if you Google Tori Eldridge, you will come up with so much. You might even come up with dance clips from the Love Boat. I mean, I don't know what you could come up with if you search me. Ninja videos, all sorts of craziness. But
yes,
that's where you find everything. And then of course, just go to your favorite bookseller platform and punch in Tori Eldridge, and you're bound to get, everything I've got published.
Well, Tori, it's been fantastic having you on. You are an amazing interview. We've got
As
to have
always.
you numerous times because you have so many things you could talk to, us about. You're just fascinating, absolutely fascinating. We'll definitely have you on when your next book comes out.
Yes, we will. We'll get you here when the next book comes
Yes,
out, and we'll do all
yes,
this
for
again.
sure.
Yeah.
And thank you so much for being with us. I also want to ask our viewers to click the thumbs up. It helps with the algorithms and gets the interviews out into the world. And also subscribe if you like our interviews. It helps us bring more interviews to you. And again, Tori Eldridge, fantastic to have you, and we will definitely have you back.
Mahalo.
Thank you, Tori. Well, this wraps up this episode of Get to Know here on the Outliers YouTube channel. We will be back with more interviews, as you well know, and we'll have some fun. Maybe not as much fun as we had with Tori, but we will see. Until next time.